Tonight, I have a creepy mystery story about the sleep tracker that recorded a second breathing pattern under my bed that I want to share with you. It all started when I bought a high-tech smart mattress sensor to analyze my persistent insomnia, hoping to find a simple cure for my sleepless nights. The device was small and unobtrusive, slipping neatly under my bedsheets, designed to measure heart rate, micro-movements, and breathing cycles with clinical precision. For the first few nights, the chart showed standard data, indicating my light sleep and frequent periods of restlessness. However, by the fourth morning, I noticed a strange aberration on the app's daily report, showing a secondary, slower respiratory pattern overlapping with my own during the deepest hours of the night. I initially dismissed it as a software glitch, or perhaps the vibration of the nearby radiator humming through the floorboards. The next night, the secondary pattern appeared again, but this time it was more distinct, showing a slow, heavy inhalation that contrasted sharply with my rapid, shallow breathing. The visual wave charts on my phone screen depicted two distinct entities sleeping in the exact same bed. Yet I was entirely alone. Driven by a growing sense of unease, I calibrated the sensor again, making sure it was tightly secured and that no external drafts could influence the sensitive pressure pads. That evening, I lay awake for hours, staring into the pitch-black darkness of my bedroom, listening intently for any sound that shouldn't be there. The silence in my apartment was absolute and suffocating, broken only by the distant hum of traffic and the rhythmic, quiet sound of my own breath. I eventually drifted into a troubled sleep, dreaming of a heavy, damp weight pressing down on the floorboards directly beneath my mattress. When I woke up, the app's data was terrifyingly clear. The second breathing pattern had started precisely 10 minutes after I fell asleep and had continued until dawn. What was even more disturbing was the proximity metric, which indicated the source of the vibrations was coming from directly beneath the center of the bed. I decided to conduct a thorough search of my bedroom, pulling away the heavy wooden bed frame from the wall and shining a bright flashlight into the dusty void beneath. There was nothing there except a few forgotten storage boxes and a light layer of dust, which seemed undisturbed by any physical presence. Feeling foolish but still deeply unsettled, I moved the storage boxes to the closet, leaving the space under the bed completely bare to ensure there could be no physical interference. I hoped this simple action would resolve the anomalies on the tracker and restore my peace of mind. That night, I activated the sleep tracker's audio recording feature, a function designed to capture snoring, sleep talking, or environmental noises that might disrupt a user's rest. I went to sleep with a knot of anxiety tightening in my stomach, praying the morning report would be blank. Morning came and my hands trembled as I opened the application on my phone, immediately navigating to the audio log page which displayed several recorded events. The first few audio clips were just the rustle of my blankets and the familiar soft sounds of my own occasional shifting. Then I tapped on a file recorded at 3 a.m, and a cold dread washed over me as the speaker played a wet, labored wheezing sound. It was much deeper than my voice, a raspy, throat-heavy inhalation that seemed to rise directly from the floorboards below. I listened to the recording repeatedly, turning the volume to its maximum, hearing the chilling sound of a wet throat clicking as it drew in air. It sounded dangerously close, almost as if the source was pressed against the wooden slats supporting my thin mattress. Determined to find the truth, I set up a small security camera on the floor, pointing it directly into the empty space underneath my bed. I went to bed early, keeping a small lamp on, hoping the light would deter whatever was causing these bizarre readings. I woke up in the middle of the night to a freezing chill in the room, the air thick and smelling faintly of damp earth and old copper. I reached for my phone, my fingers slick with cold sweat, and opened the live feed of the underbed camera. The camera's infrared night vision screen showed only the empty floor, but the live audio feed was filled with the loud, unmistakable sound of wet breathing. The slow, rhythmic wheezing was perfectly synchronized with the rising and falling wave on my sleep tracker's real-time interface. Suddenly, the video feed flickered with static, and a pale, elongated shape seemed to push itself out from the solid floorboards beneath the bed. It had no defined face, only a soft, sunken depression where eyes and a mouth should be, breathing slowly. I froze in absolute terror, unable to scream or move, staring at the screen as the formless entity pressed its featureless face upward against the wooden slats. I could feel the slight vibration of its inhalation rising through the mattress, vibrating against my own spine. The sleep tracker app began sending urgent notifications, warning me that my heart rate had spiked to dangerous levels while detecting high-frequency vibrations from below. The entity seemed to react to the phone's glowing screen, its breathing growing faster, mimicry of my own panicked state. With a burst of adrenaline, I rolled out of bed, crashing onto the hardwood floor, and scrambled toward the bedroom door without looking back. I spent the remainder of the night shivering in the bright light of the kitchen, clutching a kitchen knife in my shaking hands. The next morning, I returned to the bedroom with the sun shining brightly through the window, trying to convince myself it was a hallucination. But when I checked the recorded video file, the footage showed the pale, shifting entity clearly rising from the floorboards before vanishing. I decided to investigate the history of my apartment building, searching online archives for any unusual events or deaths associated with my specific unit. I discovered that decades ago, a tenant had vanished from this very apartment, leaving all their belongings behind without a trace. The old police reports mentioned that the missing tenant had complained to neighbors about hearing footsteps and breathing beneath their floorboards shortly before they disappeared. The realization that the same entity was still lurking beneath my room made my blood run cold. I packed a bag with my essential belongings, determined to stay at a hotel while I looked for a new place to live. As I packed, I kept my eyes locked on the bed, half expecting the mattress to rise or the floorboards to buckle. Just as I was about to leave, I noticed my phone was still synced to the sleep tracker, which was sitting on the nightstand. The app was currently displaying active data, showing that a slow, steady breathing pattern was still being recorded in the empty room. I approached the bed slowly, holding my breath, and looked down at the phone screen to see the respiratory rate steadily increasing. The sensor was detecting a presence that was no longer hiding, its movements registering as heavy, deliberate vibrations under the bed. The wood of the floorboards began to groan and creak, the seams parting slightly as a dark, oily substance began to seep upward. The scent of copper and decay filled the air again, more potent than before, choking my lungs and forcing me backward. I grabbed my bag and ran out of the apartment, slamming the door behind me, the sound of wet, heavy breathing echoing in the hallway. I took the stairs 3 at a time, desperate to escape the oppressive atmosphere of the building and reach the safety of the street. Now safely checked into a hotel room, I sit on the edge of the bed, staring at my phone with a sense of dread. The sleep tracker app is still active, still connected to the sensor I left behind in my abandoned apartment. The real-time graph on my screen is showing a chaotic spike in activity, followed by a sudden terrifying transition to a new pattern. The app is now showing 2 breathing signals again, but this time, the second pattern is registering directly under my hotel bed. Will they survive this nightmare? Thank you for listening to the story of the sleep tracker that recorded a second breathing pattern under my bed. See you in the next creepy tale.